What's up, everybody? Welcome back for the second show tonight. I am so sorry. Sorry we're a little bit late, guys. We had a little bit of technical problems, and by we, I mean me. Me and this new setup, as nice as it is, we weren't agreeing with each other. So, yeah. So how's everybody doing? If you missed the first show, where were you? Why'd you miss the first show? It was a great show. But anyway, we've got another amazing guest to follow up Stephen Dobbs tonight. I don't know what to say. I'm excited for this one. This is something, this gentleman does something completely different than what I'm used to. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our co-host, because one of our co-hosts actually, will you stop it? See, technical. One of our co-hosts actually knows this individual very, very well. And who better to introduce our guest is Miss Squeakers.
Hey, guys.
She's back again. And there's Lurker.
Have I annoyed you yet?
What's up, guys?
Never. Here, I'm going to switch you two around. So, Squeakers, who do we have tonight?
We have Charles.
What's Charles? What is a Charles?
Charles,
what does Charles
Charles is a he is a I want to say he's a psychologist with the paranormal and other things. He knows quite a bit of physiological things, and he just does a lot of interesting things for the mental health portion of the paranormal and beyond.
So correct me if I'm wrong, though. We're gonna hopefully learn how to relax a little bit, right? Is that what I was promised? Good luck to our guest. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into it and let's get some relaxation going on with Charles. Charles, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hey,
Hi, Charles.
Hello. And I will correct just for a second that I am a counselor and certified hypnotherapist, but
thank you.
I'm
not a psychologist, but that's okay. And I've done, but I worked a lot in groups with psychologists and psychiatrists, and often they would send people to me that were mentally sound, but were experiencing things of a spiritual nature, and they needed help. You know, I had more than one client that thought they were going crazy because of something was happening, you know, and then literally they were like, I think I'm losing my mind because this is happening. So in some cases we would have, okay, we can send you to have you evaluated. And more than once, those people came back with, nope, and one of my psychiatrist friends used to say it the best. He's like, we all have what we deal with. And psychiatry deals with the mind as an organ and part of the body. When something's happening that's outside of that scope, and the person is otherwise healthy mind and body, then they would send them to me because they know I would deal with some of the spiritual things that they were going through, or be able to help guide them through that. That led to all sorts of things. There's been houses where we went and did things. There's been individuals that, literally things like an exorcism or something resembling that happened. I had one person that was so caught up in darkness and what was going on that literally I knew it was way over my head. And we are in the same town as Gonzaga University, a Catholic university, and I sent her to the Jesuits. And they don't let you, they do their thing in secret or whatever, you can't be part of it. But I was like, yeah, you need them. This one's not one I want to touch,
Understood. So before we get too deep, Charles, I just want to give some shout outs to our audience tonight. And like I said, I told Charles backstage, guys, that you're amazing. You guys are awesome. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything along those lines, feel free to put them in the chat. We will touch on them as soon as we see them and we have a moment. So Liz, you're always here. I love it. Thank you, Liz, for being here. Lisa Marie, Minnesota Spirit Hunter.
Everybody.
What up? What up, Lisa?
Minnesota.
Lisa, you better be going live with Victor tonight. Tracy is another one's always here. Uh-oh. There's a familiar face. Didn't we just see you? Friends of the other side, Stephen Dobbs. What's up, man?
Hi, Steven.
I thought you'd been sick of us by now. Who else is here? Jacqueline. Hello. Welcome. I keep seeing you around, Jacqueline. It's always a pleasure. And Jennifer. Hola, ¿cómo está? I will be live tonight. Get ready in a bit. Awesome. So, Charles, let's start off with something that I'm really curious about. Your radio. You have a radio program, correct? You don't have, or do you have a podcast as well, like this?
Yeah, it's not a live stream.
Mhm.
It's all audio, and it's on Blog Talk Radio. It's called Relax, Let Go, Be with Charles. And
Cool.
what happened is, for about 30 years, I worked in the Spokane area as a counselor, hypnotherapist, a spiritual facilitator. Did private sessions, workshops, groups, and then at a certain point, we started doing something we called Friday Night Spiritual Nights. Where a couple times a month on Friday nights, often I'd be presenting, but I also had guest presenters that would come in and we'd do a guided meditation, a spiritual experience together, and just share that. Then in 2014, 2015, I moved to Portland, and people were like, "How are we gonna wait? We got to keep doing this." So I thought, wait, we can do it with this Blog Talk show, and we can do a Friday night spiritual night, and callers can call in, or they could also have a chat room there, but they can call in and ask questions. And as a whole, the shows are, each show is like this week has been on Monday, freedom to love, be loved, and give love. How we can do the things in our life to both receive and give love. Tonight we're doing freedom from judgment. All the judgments and fears that we get in all sorts of ways in our lives, and we think about them, and they change and derail us all the time in everything we do. And it really fits with the paranormal too. So many people I know that have experienced something paranormal, whether they saw a UFO or they had a ghost, or they're the type of persons that can hear things and see things and feel things. When they try to describe that to other people in their lives, they end up being, a lot of judgment for that, so
we all know about that, don't we, guys?
Yeah, definitely. We've all been there, right? And then each show has a guided meditation as part of it. And we also are just starting. We were on for about a year and a half back in 2014, 2015. The shows kept going. People kept listening. Like, once you put it out there, it's out there, right?
Yep.
So people can listen. So when I came back on, we had listeners over the last 2-3 years that have just gone back and listened to all the episodes. They're meant to be the type of thing that, if you're having a certain type of day, or you want to experience a certain type of experience, you can be like, I want to do a soul to soul meditation. I'll listen to that show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we tried to, and then just like you, we've just started up in about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. We've been going back now, and we're going to start our Wednesday shows, bringing on guests as well. Because like I tell people, if you ever run into a teacher or spiritual leader or guru or any type of person, and they tell you, I have all the answers and only me, run for the door, because that's impossible. We all have our piece of the pie. We all have what we've studied, what we've learned, what we've experienced, and we can own that truth. But we also have to own that there are many different ways to experience, and there's many different ways to be, and they're all valid and beautiful and wonderful.
Sounds very familiar, doesn't it, guys? Number
Definitely
one,
on my alley.
the judgment on the community side. I think everybody, we can all agree with this one. The audience, you guys included, we are absolutely tired of the stigma that all us paranormal investigators are Satan worshipers or all that other. Yeah, tired of that. We're done. Which is why I started doing these, because I wanted to get people not just in the paranormal field but also outside, to give them a chance and opportunity to meet and see us. And I share this out with my personal page, and there's people who just don't believe in the paranormal. Well, guess what? They're going to hear it. They follow me or listen to me. Right. And the other thing is, it's very cool. I don't want to say coincidental, but it's very interesting that in your line, you said that there's no expert. We all, there's different ways to deal with certain things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Same thing with us. I don't know how many shows I've seen, including this one. We've even said it. There's no experts in our field. Everything we do is theory. There's nothing scientifically proven about what we do. And if somebody says that they are an expert, you've got more experience, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, you
And
experienced it in a different way,
yep,
and that's awesome. But that doesn't, yeah. When it's an intangible, it is so. Yeah, like you said, it's hard. We can't get out a ruler and say
I'll never
this
get
is what it
mad at
looks
Red
like.
Bull.
exactly.
And yet, when you've experienced it, there's things you know. There's things that you've experienced, but you still only know them from your perception. Like I've one of the things I do and teach is things like astral projection and dimensions and things like that. But the people I know that are the biggest studiers of such things say that we barely know a teens. Our minds can understand about that much of it, and the rest of it is what's out there in the universe. Is we can't possibly know it all.
Exactly. And actually, we as in some of my coworkers and I, we were talking about it because they ask about my show all the time. And it's funny, they were asking me about mediumship and astral projection and stuff like that. I said, I find it interesting that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we technically only use what, 10% of our brain?
Yeah,
Something very small like that. Can you imagine even just a 1% difference, what that could do?
right.
So the possibilities are out there. And some people might be able to tap into 10 and a half, 10 and a quarter.
Oh yes.
And it's amazing. And to put that into perspective like that, it actually, in my opinion, helps the paranormal, because if we only are using 10%, that's 10% of the knowledge. That 90% is the paranormal, anything that's outside of normality, anything that we don't know, the unknown. So who's to say that maybe death is a phase, which we're phasing to a new existence,
a new way of being.
Yeah, exactly. Our energy is done, or our spirit, our bodies, or shells, whatever you want to say, are done, and we're being phased to a new energy level. It's possible. Can you prove me right? No. Can you prove me wrong? No.
Right.
I love this, and that's why I love this field. And so I have to ask then. You said that you've intertwined with the paranormal on a couple of things. Can you give us any experiences, like best experience, favorite, anything? What would you like to talk about?
Sure. Well, I grew up in a family where spirituality was very much a part of it. My natural mom was a medium channeler herself. So as a small child, one of the first memories I have, and I tell people and they're like, that's freaky, but it's truly one of the first memories of my lifetime, is sitting at a giant kitchen table on my mom's lap while there was probably half a dozen people around the table, and they were doing it with, talking to a Ouija board, but nobody had their hands. The Ouija board was just moving. And then the reason it stuck with me is that the little heart thing, the oracle, ended up sliding off the board and smashing into the wall. And as I was probably 2 or 3, I remember just watching that and going, all right, that was interesting. What just happened there? You know what I mean?
Right.
And we had times where one of the other things they used to do is groups of people would come over and they would have these, this is in the 70s. I grew born in 64, so I'm a 70s child, you'll say, in early 70s, and they would gather around this coffee table, and literally the coffee table would be hovering, and they would ask questions. If the answer was yes, the coffee table would go this way. If the answer was no, the coffee table would go that way. And so when you grow up with stuff like that happening, you're just like, okay, this is a thing. And then one of the most interesting things at a family reunion many years later, all of us kids are talking about different people that have passed now. We all start talking about this Aunt Marie that we had, Aunt Marie, and she would come visit our family. She was always about the kids, reading you stories, baking stuff, one of those aunts. And then we're sitting there talking, and, nothing to do with the other thing, but true. I was a little bit of a late bedwetter, and Aunt Marie came and visited, and she would come and stay in my room and read these stories. And then I'd wake up and she'd say, stand there. I had this basement bedroom, and she'd stand there and watch while I went to the bathroom, and etc. So it broke me up. Like, she helped me. So I'm talking about that in the family reunion, like, Aunt Marie helped me with this. And another person's like, yeah, I had this problem. I had this problem. Yeah. And when Aunt Marie visited, she helped. Well, then our parents and grandparents and stuff are standing around listening to this, and they're like, well, when was that? They called me Chuck. When was that, Chuck, that happened? And I was like, oh, in the greenhouse. I was in, third, fourth grade, and then the other friends are like, oh, went about here, about there. And they get this strange look on their face. And they tell us that Aunt Marie had been dead for 2 years before she helped me, and for 3 to 5 years when she, quote unquote, helped these others. And as I was talking about it, I was like, but Mom, you remember I said Aunt Marie was visiting? She goes, I thought you were just dreaming. I thought it was just I didn't know you really thought she was there. I'm like, no, she was there because she helped me, And so, stuff like that, that was just, it started a path. I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand more. You know what I mean? And so that's what led for me to studying first religions and then different types of spirituality, and then working with a variety of clients that had so many experiences themselves, from the paranormal to UFOs, things like that. I worked with a guy for a while who was big in the Air Force and had all kinds of stories to tell me about stuff that was going on, and was like, and I've had the simplest. I had a gal that came and saw me years ago, and she said she wanted to help me get rid of a gift. She's like, there's something that happens and it's causing me problems, and people in my small town call me a Satanist. They think I'm Devil's Daughter is one of my nicknames, all these things. God. Well, she could, and I'm telling you, this was amazing. She was telekinetic. So she gets into my office, and I'm like, so what is it? What's this gift? What's the thing? And I have, like, sitting next to me, like, a cup and some things. And I'm not kidding you. She looks over and the cup just moves. And I'm like, all right, that's a thing. Like, I'll be honest, I had never seen that before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said I had, like, a necklace thing kind of like this hanging on my thing. And she said, just hold that. So I held it. Just holding it up, it just started spinning around. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what do you mean? This is awesome. Why would you want to get rid of it? And she said, because in her little town that she lived in, a little town in Montana, literally a few hundred people thought she was a freak. And she said, she goes, it took me a long time to control it, and it takes a lot. She goes, what I just did took a lot of effort. She goes, what happens is, she was a cook. And so she'd be at work and she'd be like, oh, I need hamburger buns. And literally turn around and hamburger buns would come at her. And then people in the kitchen around her would come out of the kitchen screaming, and she's like, don't scream. It's just hamburger buns. I don't know why I don't know why it's happening. So
I see a business opportunity there. I mean,
Right.
that's me,
Right.
but
and the thing is, people like her, and I had a couple other people over time that really had some pretty major gifts. They also don't want, like, no way. Like I said, if we right now, there are so many people that would be all about this. She goes, and I'd never have another normal day in my life.
What is normal, though?
Normal's
right, boring.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to go to that burger joint now.
Right? I know. Just in case it happens, advertise that stuff. Do stuff.
Since our friend or family over there in Minnesota like to put para in front of everything, what about just para burgers?
Right.
Let's start that chain.
Yeah.
Are you okay down there, Squeakers?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
During COVID, man.
Basically, my work with her was just to help her more control it, like, so that she could. And like I said, even with her, I said, I'm working with something new here, but the way spiritual gifts work is you are in control. You can turn stuff on and off. So let me help you turn it off.
Hi, Lurker.
I have a question for
You
Charles.
don't need to raise your hand. You're the co-host. You don't need
Oh,
to raise
right.
your hand.
Anyway, I have a question for you, Charles. Do you think maybe it's a possibility that when we go paranormal investigating, that if stuff falls down or stuff moves, maybe part of our minds might accidentally tapped into that source? Maybe is that a possibility?
Well, I do think, because there's things like that I've gone on myself, or we've gotten groups to help people. And I do think that there is a connection. For instance, I've gone into situations where I think more happened because we were there and because they knew we were tapped in. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whether
Oh.
you're causing it, I wouldn't think so, but not impossible. But I think more so you're being there and you're present and your openness allows them to communicate. And then a lot of times when I'm working with grieving, because I work with grieving people, I'm working with a grieving mother right now who's lost her baby at a very young age, and she wants to like connect with that spirit. And whenever I'm doing that type of work, I always tell them that's really tough because you're so close to it, you know, and so you really have to work past that. And as a rule, what I've experienced, unless it truly is something of a either elemental or demonic nature, whatever that means for sure, because I think that's our word for something we don't get, you know, that's powerful. But the closer you are, they don't want to scare you. Your child that passed does not want to send you into great grief. You know, and I've talked to parents before and they're like, I want to experience this. And I said, so what if you do? What if your child appeared to you right now in front of you? What would you be? And then if the answer is a blithering mess, then guess why they're not showing up? Because they want you to be happy. They want to
Yes.
connect with you in a way that brings you peace and lets you know they're okay, that doesn't scare you, you know. So I
Yeah.
think when you're intuitive like you guys are and you're connected and you get into the space, whatever's in that space knows that you're there and you're listening and they're not, you know, you give them the opportunity to kind of express what they can in the ways that they can.
Well, I actually I have an idea that I've noticed. Well, it's a trend actually. I've noticed in a lot of my cases. I've been doing this 16 years, Charles,
Wow.
and I've done over 400 homes and businesses. Um, but a lot of times when I find that there is a haunting or evidence of a haunting, there's been recent death in the family. Usually 6 months or less is
Right.
usually when I hear about this. So I have a theory, and I'm kind of curious on your take on this. So when someone passes, you know, whether it's a family member, friend, whatnot, once they move on, I have a theory that they will come back within a 2 to 3 week time period, because that's typically when I find, because we do research, we do a
Mm-hmm.
family history, and we find out that usually around that time frame is when the haunting starts. It starts out something with a knock, an ambient smell, temperature drop, a feeling of security, warmth, something that reminds the family of that individual. So my theory is these people are coming back to their family and friends and letting them know that they are fine. It's kind of like saying the mourning process is over. I'm okay. Move
Mm-hmm.
on. In your experiences, do you feel that can be, I don't want to say
Oh,
validated, but there is evidence of that in your field?
I'd say absolutely. And same type of thing when I start talking to people, even people that are saying sometimes they're coming because they want to connect in certain ways. And not that I disparage it in any way. And in my early life, I did do like some channeling medium type self stuff. And then I thought, no, I'm still going to connect and I'm still going to go with my guidance. But what I want to do is teach people how to do it for themselves. But as you know, in the work you do, not everybody wants to even, you know what I mean? They don't want it. They're like, no, you do it, you know?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And, but definitely when you start talking to them, even the ones that think nothing's happened, they'll share with me things, you know, I'll say, so nothing at all. Well, I did I did hear noises in his room about a week after and this happened, or I did have this dream, you know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, so things are happening already, you know. And I do think they reach out in the ways they can. The other thing that I've run into, which was pretty amazing, is that and you talk about, you know, like we have our experiences, but we don't know everything. This is a good example. I was working with a woman whose son had died tragically at 17.
Mm.
And I'll give you 3 quick bullet points that happened with him that were pretty powerful. One is I had a client in before her. She wasn't even there yet. That client just wanted to connect with his soul, kind of get relaxed. He was just beginning to open up spiritually, right? So we just did this open up to your soul meditation where he got to feel his soul, connect with it a little bit. He comes out of it and I'm there with his psychologist is there too. And he comes out of it and he says, there is a boy. I guessing to be 16, 17. He's right outside the door. He's waiting because you're seeing his mom next. Now there's no way he could have known that. None. Zero possibility that he knew whether a man or a woman was coming next, let alone that he goes, and I said, what do you mean? He goes, when I went into my soul, I could see him and realized he was another soul, but he wasn't in his body. And I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? Then he showed me, we were doing a meditation with the woman, and he shows me this really weird, and when I say weird dresser, like this, you can't buy this in the store. It had weird compartments, and you like pulled it out and this opened and another box opened, you know. So I'm describing this to her and said, he showed me that there's this drawer that opens, and when you pull out the drawer, another drawer is in there, and then there's a little box. And she said, yeah, his uncle made that for him. Thought it was, you know, the boy has to have a spot to hide all his rocks and different things, you know, the fun stuff. I said, well, there's something in there. It's not for you. It's for his girlfriend. And she goes home. She calls me. She said, Charles, in there, wrapped in a tissue paper, was a necklace that I've never seen. And he was supposed to, the night that he actually drowned here in the river, but the night that he ended up drowning, he was supposed to in the afternoon do this kayaking and stuff he was going to do. Then his kayak flipped, he drowned. It was like literally months before he was found. It was a whole thing in here. It was a big story actually, because where'd he go? And no one's seen him, you know. And then that night he was supposed to meet up with his girlfriend and give her that, you know. And the third thing that happened with him was that, and this is truly how it went down, I was getting ready to take a shower. Her session was coming up. I lived close to where my office was. I'm in the shower. All of a sudden, bam, there he is. And he's like, you got to wake up my mom. She's not waking up. She really needs to see you today. You got to wake her up. Please don't cancel her. Wake her up. Keep calling her. And I'm like, okay, dude, I'm in the shower. Even though you're a ghost, this feels kind of weird. So I'm going to say bye for now.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
A little bit of boundary,
you know,
but yeah.
And then I promised I'll call your mom. So I called and called and called. Finally, we were 10 minutes into the time that she was supposed to be there, and I get a call back, and she says to me, "I was dreaming of my son. I won't say his name. You know, I was dreaming of my son, and I didn't want to wake up. And he kept telling me I had to wake up, but I kept saying no. I want to keep this dream. You know, I don't want to wake up." And so then I told her. I said, "Well." He came to me and was like, call mom over and over and over again because she's not waking up. So even simple things like that show you something's out there, right? Because how does that happen any other way? You know?
There's coincidence, and then there's that.
Right?
We just had a little glitch in the audio there.
What?
There was a glitch in Charles' audio.
I didn't notice it. Well, one of my producers apparently has something to say. What?
I was going to say, you're a kitten.
Yeah, that's great. For those of you, come here. Or don't come here. I don't care. She's gonna be back here yelling for a minute. I don't know. So, hi, Spuzzle, and yes, we are on again. Calling you out, squeakers.
Yes, I'm sorry, guys. This COVID thing makes me look like I'm really tired. And
I don't blame you.
You're
I'm tired too.
You're fine.
Now,
You are fine.
Another interesting story I could share, because you talk about going into places, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I discovered, we all hear that we leave residual energy too, of the living. You know, and so sometimes when a door slams, is that a ghost, or is that just? And I knew a guy that was a specialist in like atmospheric pressures and energies and stuff like that, and he said, if I slam this door in anger, and I just slammed it, then 10 years later, under the right environmental circumstances, that energy could get reignited and slam the door. And all it is that residual energy. So I had a house, and I think Sarah knew about this one. I had or squeakers.
Yes.
I had a house that I went and visited because they were having all these issues. I go into one room in the basement, which is completely empty, very weird shapes. It like had long cement shelves on either side, but nothing in it. And I get all this visual of a older man and a kid, and there's all these cars and these painted boards that have roads and Legos and all this stuff on it. And it had nothing to do. I was like, I've got all that, and I was noting everything and shared it with the homeowner. And we dealt with what was an elemental spirit that was there. That was interesting too. They had all this stuff being moved around and all these things happening. And people they bought the house from, they knew, and they told them that's part of why they sold it. They got tired of it. And it was sometimes friendly, like I might say friendly, like you just move something, you just set your glass down and you come to get it, and you just set it there, and now it's not there. Now it's over here, But it also got to where it was literally breaking things. Like they brought in this spiritual glass piece they put on something, and they woke up the next morning and it was shattered on the floor. And they don't have cats or dogs. You know what I mean? It was like, how did that happen? So we ended up finding in that house, there was an elemental spirit. Literally part of the foundation was a giant rock. And when I say giant rock, it was like bigger than me. Mm-hmm. And it was right in the corner. And you could tell when they got ready to put this house in, and we looked it up, I think it was like 1910 or something. They were like, screw it. We're just going to build the foundation around this rock.
That's what they did a lot back then.
And especially here, because it's so rocky. So me and this other person, there was 10 of us there, but only 2 of us that felt like we could go. Like this elemental spirit was so strong. There are people that wouldn't get near it. They're like, we got to stop. We can't do this. Him and I get near it. We both saw the same, we called it movie in our head of what we thought was the earth in that spot for the last billion years. And most of that time, it was that rock with nothing but nature around it. And then in the blink of the eye, the last 100 years, suddenly here comes houses, here comes roads, here comes all this. And literally, we both got the same sense. This elemental spirit just made it clear. Nothing against you, but I can't stand humans. I don't want to be around humans. Mm-hmm. Your minds and your chaos is way too much. And I just want to get out of here. And so we opened up a light, he went away. Then we talked to the family, and the family that owned the home before says, when they tell them about that room where I saw the boy and the grandpa, it turns out that's the only time that room had been used in its entire history was for this. Her husband had made this for the grandson. She goes, but they're both still alive. That's so weird. No, it isn't. They're the only ones that were ever in that room, and their energy still there. Mm-hmm. So that for me was the first of really knowing that, wow, residual energy can be pretty strong.
Yep.
And you have to separate between, and that's why you too, when you investigate and you're working with people, you have to find out what's happening in the home. Are you guys having a lot of strife? Are you having a lot of fights? Are you having a lot of discourse in the home? That could be creating some of your nonsense as well.
100%. Before we move on to that, let's see. Dina, welcome. Hello. So Dina's saying, when my family members pass, right after they die, I get a phone call. The line is always dead. I hope the pun is intended.
Right.
Because that's just too good. I'm the only one who gets the phone call. The only time I heard anything was when my dad died. Our condolences, Dina.
Yeah, very much.
I got the phone call and I heard his TV on.
Interesting. Wow.
That's pretty good. That's a good one.
Yeah. And I have heard of people who've had that happen, who've gotten either a phone call or a weird text, and they'll say it was from that number, but he's, how's that even possible? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or same type of thing. They'll get, there's especially back in the 70s and 80s before we got all the technology we do now, and all you had is your home phone, the number of people, there's something about the phone. There was something about, I don't know what it is, the electrical components inside it. Somehow spirits could make it ring,
I think part of it is the electronic, at least now with the cell phones. I think part of it is the electrical part, just like a spirit box. They use the EMF from that.
Right.
Are you listening too? This is Gray. We call her Goose.
I have a kitten that usually is in when I do the shows too, but I made him go out, and I'm thinking, I should let him in.
Oh, she's one of my 6 producers.
Right.
But I think back then, I think it was the white noise, is what it was. The
Mhm.
dial tone. I think they use that. Again, it's just a theory, but it makes sense, at least on my end.
Right. No, and that's like you said on the spirit box. I've had a lot of people ask me about that. Charles, do you think that's real? I said, why wouldn't it be? It's just another way of communicating. And when I've seen it, and I've seen it, people use it in different ways. To me, it's just a different way of communicating. And like you probably experienced too, when they say things like your name, or they connect to things that are real good stories,
Mm-hmm.
like that fit into the story of the house, you know what I mean? Or the story that you're investigating, then it's not a coincidence. Can't, again,
See, the way I always describe the paranormal, it's once you try to debunk something or figure it out, um, let's just say knocking, banging, whatever. If it's not the foundation, if it's
right?
not, you go through all your logical stuff first. You
Yes,
go
yes.
like the engineering side of it, the construction. If you're still left with questions after you've answered, say you have 5 questions, 4 out of the 5 you can answer. That 5th one, you still can't answer it. There's your experience. There's your paranormal. You
Right.
have to debunk. You have to take a step back, and you have to. Darn it! I was trying to catch Lurker with his eyes closed.
Hey,
I caught that.
didn't
Yes, I did. Squeakers, you're next. But no, it's all right, guys. It's all right. But no, we in this field you have to. You absolutely have
Yes.
to debunk. Because one thing I've said before, especially on this show too, is we're only there a couple hours, maybe overnight. These people, these residents, families, workers, employees, if we're in a business, they stay there. Any decision, anything we say, I mean, we're supposed to be like you, a counselor. We are there to comfort them, to guide them, to help them. And if we don't do our due diligence, we're hurting them. And we're
Right.
also hurting
Right.
our field.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's amazing the connection.
And sometimes people don't like it when you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I figured out that," you know. And but sometimes that's good. It's good that like I tell people, same thing about knocking. I do a joke and say, if you hear knocking, first check and see if someone's at the door. Like there's before you're like, oh my gosh, you may have gotten a package. Like, let's not go 5 steps forward. On the other hand, then by doing your due diligence, then you come up with, like you said, then you come up with what's left there, and then you're like, okay, now there's no explanation for this.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And see, that's we actually spoke on the show earlier with Stephen Dobbs. What we have to do as investigators is we get excited when we have evidence, like the knocking. If we ask for a knock and we get a knock in direct response, yes, that's really cool. That gets us all excited. But at the same time, take a step back. There is such thing as a coincidence.
Mhm.
The house could have settled just at that moment. It could have, I know a lot of wooden framework will swell depending on the temperature. Sometimes it'll swell, shrink,
yeah,
twist, wind, even the electrical, air in the pipes, if it's plumbing. There's a bunch of different things that it could be. And I'm sorry, but if I hear something and it sounds metallic, I'm going to guess it's a pipe.
right, yeah.
And even just like, for example, it's wood. What was the context? I know it sounds weird, but what was the context of that knock? How hard of a knock was it? Was it a little creak? Was it, very forceful? Was it this? Was it that? Was it a creak or a knock? There's significant differences between the two. And I think a lot of people forget about that. And I mean, we get excited, obviously.
Oh yeah,
We're out
yeah,
in the
yeah.
field and
Right?
we get
Yeah, we're
excited.
like,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, yes, let's
right.
go. Keep going. But you have to try to maintain some sort of composure when you're investigating.
Even if you get some exciting stuff, and that can happen. And you also have to be careful. One thing that happened for me long before I was doing things professionally, I was always around friends and we always talked about it, etc. I moved into this apartment in Charleston, South Carolina, an older downtown apartment, which had at one time been, as it turns out, the mayor's house in Charleston. It was made into 3 stories. We were on the top 2 stories. There was a dentist's office on the bottom floor. Well, we used to do poker nights where friends would come over. The old, not the new stuff. The old 5-card, 7-card. You bring $5, $10. You have quarter dime, nickel chips.
I get you.
Well, one of our nights, we started. Me and my roommate and a couple friends every now and then started noticing weird things, like this door upstairs. I was in one bedroom upstairs. The other bedroom upstairs was just storage. One of the reasons we made it storage is because even in the middle of summer, Charleston, South Carolina was ice cold. Mm-hmm. And it had this door that you literally had to drag to open and close. Yet we would be doing something and all of a sudden that door would just slam. And we'd be like, how did that even happen? It doesn't even, and so we'd go up and we'd look. Well, long story short, things started happening. And so our poker nights started getting more and more popular because people wanted to come over and hear the door slam and stuff. So we decided, let's get a group of us together. We were all very much, no one professional in any way at the time, but some of us had experienced things. And we're like, let's try to figure out what this is, what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So we did, like we do. We said, slam, we're here, we're listening. Then all of a sudden the door goes bam, 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 louder than it ever has. And we're like, oh, all right. So me and 3 friends are like, let's go up to this. No, by far, as an adult, one of the most bizarre things that ever happened. We're going up this twisted staircase that literally goes around, then up. We get almost to going up. The top person goes into the air. That guy grabs his feet. I'm behind him. So I grab this guy's shoe and I'm here and I'm like down, but I'm down because I have my arm and my leg wrapped around the banister and it's pulling me. Mm-hmm. And this guy that's here, he's like, I think I'm going to let go. And we're like, don't let go. Whatever's happening right now, I don't think letting go is the answer. And then just like that, bam, everybody dropped. And literally, the guy that was the highest up, he had cuts. His nose got smashed. You know what I mean? Because he literally got dropped on the stairs. So we're like, we're done. You win.
See, Lurker, that's the type of stuff I said. Record that stuff. Don't help me. Right. Record.
Yeah, and that was way back before cell phones. This is like in I want to say 83, 84. Okay. And then here's the freaky thing. So we forgot about it. And I did, looked up some stuff and got some friends. We did like some saging and sealing and leave us alone. And every now and then it would slam. We paid no attention to it. We're not dealing with you. You're mean. When I went to move out, I got stuff out of the storage room. And I discovered there's in the wall, a plaster wall, there's like a piece of plaster on the floor. You can see it. And there's like a tiny, tiny hole. And I go to try to look through and my eye gets like all this like dust and things in it. So I literally went and got a screwdriver and start working it, right? And got it big enough that you could stick your head in. Not joking, there was a walled off room. What? And when we looked from the outside, we don't know why we never figured it out. And the dentist below owned the place. So we told them about it. We're like, hey, you got to come see. There's a big hole in the wall. He's like, what? What'd you do? And I'm like, no, wait till you see it. Wait till you see it. Because in it was like everything, like a bed, a rocker, like a Bible or some books on the thing. I mean, this room had, and so I was leaving, like I was moving. I was leaving in the morning. So I ended up talking to my friend later who was there. And I said, so what happened? Did he take the wall down? Did he go in there? Because he was like, man, this stuff might be worth something. How long has this been walled off? And what we found out is that this house had been one of the first mayor's houses. Like I said, that mayor had a daughter who had died, and I'm going to say the wrong disease, I think, but it was tuberculosis.
Okay.
Had died of tuberculosis. And back then, that was not unusual to do. He was surprised that it never showed up. Like he'd owned the place for 20 years, never realized there was another room. So I heard the story and I said, so what did he do? And my friend who was still living there said, this is the freaky thing, Charles. he came in on a Sunday and he said, I'm going to do some work in there and stuff and make it bigger. And then I left. I was gone all afternoon. When I got back, there was a note saying, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I sealed the hole. And he went up and found out that you could see where he started to make it bigger, but then had stopped. And yep, he'd sealed it. I don't know what that guy experienced, but he experienced something that made, he was all into how much is all that stuff worth and what's this going to be. And whatever happened to him, he decided, nope, and walled it back off.
I believe he was leaving to go get a new pair of pants, is what
Right.
There we go about pants again.
leaving a trail.
He didn't care if the zipper worked or not. It just he needed a new pair.
Right.
Noted. Invite somebody to their poker game night.
Right. Exactly.
Invite Charles to poker night. Got it.
Now, well, and here's the other thing. Don't you think, Matt, that now in the especially the last, I want to say 5 to 10 years, we do have a lot more video edit. They're now, like if that had happened to me in today as opposed to 1984, you better believe I'd be grabbing my phone. Just tell people, keep your phone on you. Keep it ready to roll. Because now we can do that. In the past, we used to have special equipment or get it all set up. You know what I mean? Now, if something happens, bam, you can push a button and start recording.
We have Penny's laptop or Penny's book off of what was that show? Inspector Gadget.
Oh, took me a second. I go, what?
I know. I'm like,
well, Squeaker's found her medication. That's where she was going. Squeakers, you're awesome. And lady, I saw that. Use the Schwartz. We're not bringing Brian's broken pants up in the show again. One show's enough for him. And that also made me lose my train of thought. Of course, that's typical.
Don't you think we have more evidence now?
Thank you. So you'll find this fascinating, Charles. When I first started in this field 16 years ago, just 16 years ago, you obviously know what a DVR system is. Mine was a VHS DVR system with I think it was a 32-inch tube TV. That's what I had. I was watching it on. I had the VHS, both mini and full size recorders, video recorders.
Right.
I had the cassette recorders with mini recorders as well. That's what I started with. It was cheap.
Right. Right.
Disposable cameras. Yeah, that was fun. Going to Walmart with the disposable cameras of Paranormal Investigations. Yeah. They knew me. They knew what I was up to.
Right. They saw those pictures and they were like, this guy.
Well, the one guy goes, you can use a flash. I go, I was. It was that dark. But anyway, stop it. I had to pay for the autofocus. I don't know why I did, but I did. But anyway, what's up, Ron? Ron from RRLC joining us tonight again. But no, it's amazing though, Charles, how astral projection, even, I don't know, have you dove into parapsychology or just?
Oh yes, definitely. Yes.
I mean, all that is a fascinating and honestly intriguing. I actually get excited about it. I actually wanted to start doing more research on parapsychology. But it's amazing how someone who's not directly in the paranormal field works closely with us who do. And it just, to me, shows the community itself. Like the general populace and what we do are one and the same. It's one of those, you really don't want to believe it until it happens. And then and then once it does happen, not to, be stereotypical, but who are you going to call?
Right. I'm going to click on another light here. I think that might be better. But
I'll call the consultant.
Call Squeakers.
Well, and that's I've mentioned that before too in my lifetime. Talking about not judging. We don't want to be judged. Let's not judge the people that don't get it either or haven't experienced it. Let's just say, like many friends, I would say, well, I agree to disagree based on my experiences, but I still love you. You're still a good friend. I can't tell you how many times that it'll happen when something happens for them. they're calling and going, all right, Charles, guess what? Guess what just happened? This and this and this. Oh my God, what is happening to me right now? You know what I mean? They suddenly become your best friend because they know that they now know that what you know, and what you've shared.
It's funny. I'm going to steal a line from Fedora since Brian Laverty's not here, but they have a saying. Mr. Fedora, Scott Morton, is not just my manager, but he's also one of the founders of Warren Area Society of Paranormal here in Pennsylvania, and they always have a saying that it may not be real to us, but it's real to someone, and it's true. It's absolutely true, and I feel that is advice that we all should be taking.
Right.
It may not, just like with our clientele, they may say, all hell's breaking loose. Well, guess what? To them, a knock, a bang, footsteps, a couple of AVPs, audible voice phenomena, all that stuff, that's hell breaking loose for them.
Right. Right.
So it's a matter of interpretation, and I wish she would make up her mind.
It's unsettling for the reality in a way that they need help. They need to explain. They need somehow to find.
Causes stress. Yeah. Well, we're going to cut this show a little short tonight, guys. And the reason why is because Charles was gracious enough to invite us on his show this evening. So we're going to take a little break. But before we go, Charles, I wanted to ask you two things. First of all, can you please tell us again where to find you for your show so we can show you some support?
Yes, and that is in modern technology, right? You can just put in relax, let go, be with Charles, and you might not even get it all in. As the world turns out, there's no other buddy doing a relax, let go, be with Charles show. So it's only mine that pops up. And
makes it easy.
It is on Blog Talk Radio. We also have a Facebook page that's Experience Your Path. So if you think about Experience Your Path, you can, type that into Facebook, and you'll follow the things that we post our shows and things like you guys do on your shows and things as well. So yes, and we also, I also personally do private sessions, things like that with people if they need it. And I now know that, and I want us to talk and exchange more info too, because then I now have resources for somebody that if they're going through some paranormal things and they want some investigators, they want somebody that's involved, that I like to have that and have to be able to say, okay, you know what you're dealing with is a little more, but here's some people that can kind of take that to the next level.
Lady Blind Wolf, yes, I will post a link in chat, and I will also post that link on the Facebook side as well. And let's see, is it, just out of curiosity, Charles, tonight your show, is this going to be a live feed or is this going to be just recorded?
It's live, but it's the best way to think of it is like radio or podcast. We are live, and people can call in, and we also have a chat room that's set up. So if you follow the link to the show, say off the Facebook page and things like that, it automatically takes you all the way in. And then on our links to the show, there's a phone number so people can call in and chat. But there's no video. But we do it live, and then occasionally I'll be on. We've had sometimes a recorded show, and I'll tell people, I'll say, you know what, the Friday night spiritual night was recorded on Thursday night because I'm camping right now, but you're listening to the show. You know what I mean? So
see, that's why I have co-hosts. If I ever can't make it.
Yes, that's the other thing. I'm working on that too. We've got a couple people that will come on and start co-hosting and doing other things. And I do want to, work that out. I want to schedule a time where you guys can come on my show as well, and we talk about what you're doing in your show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll work with Sarah and we'll get a timing where so we don't interfere with your show. But
we could change it. Obviously, we're supposed to have a set schedule, but I figured why not? Let's have some fun tonight.
Kind of like my internet trouble.
We noticed.
And
I'm sorry about that, guys.
if you've got any questions or things, we could have a few minutes for that if you'd like. That's up to you if you want to be.
We'll leave that open. If anybody in chat has any questions for Charles, feel free to ask. And like I said, I will be posting the links for the show and for his site here in as soon as we're off the air. But go ahead and ask anything you guys would like to know about Charles. But before we go, and while they're typing, Charles, I wanted to ask you the most important question of the night. Would you like to come back for a part 2? And the reason why I'm not done.
Oh no, I would actually love that. I think you guys, I think the work you guys are doing is amazing. I think there's a lot of topics like we talked, just barely touched the surface of things like astral projection and things like that. So, yeah.
So Casey is asking, also known as Spuzzle, any idea on how to open your third eye?
Third eye, so that spiritual part of the front lobe of our brain. Yes, and there's you can do meditation. You can do, like, again, there, if you were to Google that, you'd probably see 1,000 different ways. You know what I mean? For me, two of the things that I found that are real powerful is literally doing some relaxation and focusing on that part of your mind, focusing on that part of your body, and just allowing yourself to let the energy flow there. And here's something that I learned years ago, and this was from a Native American shaman. Ooh. And at first I thought there was a few things they taught me, and this guy was literally over 100 years old, like 107, something like that. And like moving around, like doing all these things. I'm just like, dude, I want to be you, you know. And one of the things he showed me, and he claimed it was one of the most powerful. He's like, and living up here in the Northwest, this time of year we don't get a lot of sun, right? Sometimes we're like begging for a sunny day. And his point was, yes, and then that starts to drain our spiritual part. He's like, Charles, what you need to do is 2 or 3 times a day with your eyes closed, because you don't want to stare into the sun with your eyes open, get towards the sun and just let it. He goes, just sit there and let it. And he goes, and you'll know, it could be from 1 to 5 minutes. You'll know when you're done, because you'll feel like that's it. Nope. You know, so I started doing that. Wow, is all I can say. What a simple thing. You know what I mean? What a simple thing. But he was right. You could basically, it like recharges that gland. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's funny how such a simple thing. And you'll see, and if you try it, I was always on my show. I was like, my friends, I'm always like, my friends, you know what I mean? So on my show, I would say, my friends, try this, then tell me what you think. Because you might go, okay, that sounds silly. All right, go try it. Mm-hmm. And see what you feel just taking it, and see, and you will get to that point. Usually for me, it's around 1-2 minutes where it's like, okay, yep, nope, that's it, it's full, finished.
See, what I really like is caging. Crystal caging. I don't know if I love caging, and a lot of times when I'm out in the field, I use caging for multiple things. A lot of times, believe it or not, meditation. Right. I go to neutral territory, neutral ground, neutral energy, pure neutral energy, cage myself, and I just let it just all soak in, and just let it all just enclose me, and it's rejuvenating. I love it. That's therapy for me. And Lady Blindwolf said she is definitely going to be joining your channel. She's got a lot of things she wants to learn. And Dina wants to know, what if you have bipolar or ADHD? I have tried but get distracted quickly.
That is a good question, and that is part of just by happenstance of what I ended up working with a lot of kids with ADHD, and found ways. They taught me, to be honest. I mean, that's the thing. When you do this type of work, your clients teach you as much as you learned out of textbooks or school. You know what I mean? It's like when you start doing the work, they start teaching you. And basically, if I know I'm working with a client who is ADHD, I try to do the meditation in such a way. I try to do the meditation in such a way that it works with that. So for instance, if you're ADHD, you're really distracted a bunch, right? So if I do a meditation where all you're doing is focusing on the light, you're going to lose me. You know, you're going to say, so if you know that you have ADHD or bipolar, and I have people in my life that are bipolar as well, then in the meditation, you create distractions. So instead of you just being in the light, you're suddenly in a garden. and there's birds and there's trees and what all is happening for you in the garden. Oh my gosh, is that a tiger over there bouncing around? You know what I mean? And so that you're creating, even in your own meditation, distractions, but they're distractions that keep you where you want to be, if that makes sense. So that is the way. You definitely do it, but you want to work with a practitioner or somebody that let them know, hey, I'm easily distracted. So when you create this experience for me, I'm literally telling you, you're going to need to create some distractions so that my distracted mind can stay busy while I concentrate and focus on what I need to. Yeah, I hope
Very
that
nice.
makes it. Yeah.
Very nice. All right. Well, Charles, we'll be seeing you in a little bit. But thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Awesome.
Definitely want to hang out with you and chat some more. So
Yes.
if you don't mind, just hang out backstage for just a moment while we
Sure.
wrap things up. So
Absolutely.
we'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
Thank you, Charles.
Haha.
You're mean.
Darn right. Well, guys, second show's done.
Woo, we made it through.
We did it.
Barely, man. I'm sorry. I'm like.
Yeah, I was kind of like dozing in and out a little bit.
I'm not
Sorry.
trying to, by all means, but
I would say
this
be
COVID
professional,
crap.
but look who it's coming from. No, you guys did great, and Squeakers, nicely done. Charles is. I have a feeling Charles will be sticking around with us for a while.
Charles
Very
is an
positive
awesome guy.
Very
And I
positive.
apologize for saying psychology at the beginning. He's a counselor.
Well, you can beg for forgiveness after the show.
I know, I will.
I really like him. He's very positive.
Very nice.
He is.
Yes,
He really
absolutely.
very, very is. Very calm person
Absolutely.
and just a very, very liked guy.
I feel really relaxed and rejuvenated.
There you go.
Yeah.
Being
And
around
this
this
is
guy.
just tip of the iceberg.
Yep.
We just wait till part 2. So, all right, you guys hang out back. Do you want to say anything to everybody before we take off?
Other than I'm kind of curious as to what's going on up there. I don't know. Can't really see my. No, my light's out.
What is
that
one?
one?
Lurker?
Matt.
You pointing at me?
Yeah, you
Matt.
pointed at Lurker.
Oh,
I know. I'm not trying to.
Oh. You're pointing at Matt, not
I'm
me.
waiting.
Oh.
Busted.
Busted, can't be trusted.
Right? All right, we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys backstage.
there, but
yeah, that's the show. All right, we'll see you guys backstage in just a second.
All right.
Well, guys, that's our Wednesday night. 2 shows, 2 great guests. Still have no idea where any direction we were going, but you know what? Our guests were awesome. Stephen Dobbs did an amazing job. So excited to talk with him. I had a lot of fun. Charles, very informative and honestly motivating. You should be a motivational speaker. Charles, I know you can see me and hear me, but you should be a motivational speaker. That's awesome. You got me so excited. But thank you guys so much for joining us. And don't forget to join tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. I will be on the Chad Smith podcast. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe, all that good stuff, and see what I have to say, because I don't even know. And then as far as everything else is concerned, we'll see you guys on Friday night for the Friday Night Paracast. We've got PDX coming on, and I am excited because you know that's going to be a good time. So for all of us here at the Paracast, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hope you all enjoyed the double feature. So you guys have yourselves a great rest of your night. Have fun. Stay safe. And as always, guys, happy hauntings.